Welcome back. New diplomatic efforts by the United States to prevent an escalation between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. I-24 News, Ariel Osran reports.
With tensions on the Israel-Lebanon border at their highest level in 18 years, the United States is on a diplomatic offensive to try and prevent a full-scale war. Senior U.S. official Hochestein will travel to Israel and to Lebanon on Monday in search of a diplomatic solution. And at least according to a recent interview, Hochestein seems hopeful.
I'm not.
Itamar, what is the danger of escalation over there in the north?
There is a risk, but I think that the players play a game that, at least how they see it, will not open a full war. And they try to limit what we see. And it's some kind of a game, if I can use this word. Everybody is trying to show that he's doing his best to limit it and to make sure that it will not explode to a full war.
Well, it's a pretty darn war for two sides. They don't want war, as they always say.
Look, many times what we do is to ignore what the Arab leaders are saying. Now, 2 days after Biden declared the Israeli plan for the hostages, 2 days after there was a speech of Ali Khamenei, the leader of Iran. And he said, no, we are not going to accept it.
Sometimes you have to do difficult things, says Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson, after a deal with Iran, in which an Iranian man convicted over mass executions was exchanged for 2 Swedes. Yulia Podglayova reports.
Sweden and Iran carried out a controversial prisoner exchange on Saturday. Stockholm released former Iranian official Hamid Nouri, arrested in 2019 and sentenced to life in prison for war crimes related to the mass execution and torture of political prisoners in Iran in 1988. Rights groups estimate that as many as 5,000 people were executed. Iran rolled out the red carpet for Nouri when he arrived back in Tehran.
I
am Hamid Nouri. I am in Iran. God made me free.
In return, Iran released Swedish diplomat Johan Floderus and dual Swedish-Iranian national Saeed Azizi. The Swedish Prime Minister accused the Islamic regime of illegal hostage-taking to achieve its political goals.
Iran used them both as pawns in a cynical negotiation game with the purpose of getting the Iranian citizen Hamid Nouri released from prison in Sweden.
Johan Floderus was arrested in Iran in 2022 and charged with spying for Israel and, quote, corruption on earth, a crime punishable by death. Saeed Azizi was arrested in 2023 on charges of, quote, assembly and collusion against national security, and was sentenced to 5 years in prison.
On that, with Iran expert Arash Azizi, thank you very much for joining us. Who are we talking about in this exchange? Hamid Nouri, what can you tell us about him?
He was a rather lowly official, but that still played an important and criminal role. He was an official in the Gohardash prison during the 1988 massacre, in which at least 5,000 Iranian political prisoners were effectively extrajudicially executed. I mean, a lot of them had already served their terms. A lot of them were very young. A lot of them had maybe 5-year prison terms, and only a few months was remaining out of them. And a few people, there were a few big people in charge of this. Ebrahim Raisi, the Iranian president, who just died in a helicopter crash a couple of weeks ago, he was one. Mustafa Pur Mohammadi, another guy who is running now for president in Iran, was another one. He was one of the top 4 officials. The Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini, of course, had ordered the whole thing. But Nouri was in charge of, in a prison, a Gohardash prison. He was some sort of a prosecutor there, basically.
Hi, Arash Azizi, thank you very much. A quick comment here in the studio, Ben Dror. This is the elephant in the room, nuclear Iran.
This is the elephant in the room. We have to bear in mind. I mean, I saw so many people when I was lately in the United States demonstrating actually in favor of who? In favor of Hamas, in favor of the Houthis, in favor of Hezbollah, and you see them waving with the flags of the three. Which is unbelievable. Which is unbelievable because, I mean, are you so stupid? I'm asking, and I ask, by the way, the demonstrators. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, oh, they are against capitalism. They are against imperialism. I said, what? What? There was a kind of debate, and just one thing we have to bear in mind: wherever you have the jihad, Shiites or Sunni, wherever you have it, this kind of radical Islam, there is bloodshed, there is destruction, nothing to do with Israel. I mean, people say, oh, there is a kind of confrontation between Israel and the Hamas. No. No. Look what is going on in the Sahel. Nobody wants to see. Look what's going on right now in Sudan. Look what happened what's happening in Lebanon, which is actually a pariah state, failed country, and so
point,
on.
I'm going to move to Itamar. This is an international threat in nuclear Iran, right? And the world should do something about it. Which let's talk about this. The U.S.-led campaign against the Houthis has turned into the most intense running sea battle the Navy has faced since World War II, no less. For more, we are joined by Clifford May, the founder and president of Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you very much.
Good to be with you.
How come this has become so intense, by the way? First since World War II.
Well, you know, it's an interesting thing. For years, we have been hearing that Yemen is one of the great humanitarian catastrophes in the world, that the people of Yemen are in need of food and medicine. Oddly enough, they do not lack for missiles, for drones, or for radar. How is that possible? Well, we know how that's possible. It's because the Islamic Republic of Iran is providing all of that. Donor community can do food, but they can do the missiles. And the U.S. is fighting a purely defensive war. They're trying to stop the missiles from hitting commercial ships in the Red Sea corridor. That's insufficient. This is something that the U.S. doesn't appear to realize, and too many in the West don't, that you don't win wars on defense only. And part of the problem is that that's what the U.S. and other Western countries too often try to force on others, on Israel, for example, on Ukraine, for example. You must be on offense if you are to win a war. You cannot simply continue to shoot down the missiles that are aiming to kill you. That is going to be insufficient, and it is here. And so you have the U.S. fighting against a non-state actor, Houthi rebels, because they refuse to put in place a strategy that would actually defeat the Houthis, or more importantly, that would either defeat or deter the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Houthis being a proxy, a foreign legion of the Islamic Republic of Iran, as is Hezbollah, as is Hamas, as is Islamic Jihad, as are the various Shia militias in Syria and Iraq. Those are the facts that too many people refuse to recognize.
Yeah. We do hear, though, that the U.S. has struck radar systems throughout Yemen there, which may imply a beginning of something which is less defensive and more